Hey, I'm Chaz with Board Game Geek here with Zach from Guildhall Studios. And you have a lot of really interesting things to show me here because this is Sea of Legends, which I believe is going to Kickstarter soon.
Yeah, April 7th is the target date.
Okay. And there's a lot here to talk about, so please, I'm going to let you start talking.
Okay, absolutely. So it's a highly narrative sandbox game. So as with most sandbox games, there's locations across the board, and each location has different attributes.
Okay.
So like you can go to the tavern. When you go to the tavern, you reveal a tavern card. Being a pirate, we assume you like to gamble and also cheat, so you always win. So you just won a knife juggling contest. You won 2 gold. But also, while you're juggling some knives,
Okay.
You hear this fun rumor about how Madame Justina fondly recalls her favorite cannon she sadly lost in Thieves' Landing.
Oh, no.
And so, if I took that action, I would hear this rumor and I'd add it to my little tableau here.
Okay.
And if I ever went to Thieves' Landing, I would then, that's not Thieves' Landing, but you know, you get the point. You'd flip this over and you'd found this handy little hand cannon. And so, throughout the game, there's all sorts of little fun things you can do. You can go hire more crew. You're going to never have more crew than your ship can hold. So right now your ship has a capacity of 4.
Okay, I'm going to show this to the camera.
Oh, yeah,
here.
absolutely.
So here's a ship with the crew there.
You start with 3 crew.
Okay.
When you hire more crew, you look at the top 3 and you can hire as many as you want. However, you can only hold your max 4, but that's okay because your ship comes equipped with one of those handy little planks you can send people off.
Okay.
And you
Standard
can
issue on most ships.
hire as many as you want. And so beyond just kind of your standard kind of go to locations, do blank actions, when you start the game, you start with your captain. I don't know if people can see these cards.
Oh, they will now.
So yeah, we'll move them up.
Yes.
So you start with a captain, a nemesis, and a lover. And so at the beginning of the game, you get to choose what character you want to be your lover and nemesis. These are double-sided, so any character could be a lover or a nemesis.
Okay.
And through options you make in the game, your lover can be scorned and become another nemesis, or your nemesis could become a lover if you play your cards right.
Oh.
But before that, every one of these has a story attributed to them. And so they start in, like, this one starts in Port Royal. So if I go to Port Royal, I can say, hey, Chaz, why don't you look at my, lover story and tell me what the story is? And so I pull up the app.
Okay, so there's a whole app that's going along helping to drive the narrative.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we can actually take this off. So then you just click, hey, I'm doing the lover story. You'd read me my lover story.
All
I
right.
would choose the response, and then it would give me a response part of the story as well as the game results of that choice.
Okay.
And what's really cool about it being in the app is these stories are continuous because we wanted each story to be very short, so turns are still very fast,
Right.
but we wanted to have gratifying story arcs. And so in like this case, it says move your adventure marker to St. John, which is a token I totally forgot to bring, but you would put it on St. John, and then you would move to St. John, and when you get there, you can do the next part of that story. But it being an adventure game, you don't have to continue that storyline. You have 2 other storylines you can go down. You also have some giant monsters that might be in your way.
I noticed these waiting in the wings here. And when you say giant, you mean just gigantic.
So,
Okay, so,
and
how do they get in your way?
so one of the really cool things about this game is every time you play, you're going to choose 2 enemy factions to play with. And so the ones I brought here today are the merfolk and the undead. And at the end of each round, we're going to play a spawn card that will spawn characters from those groups onto the board. They each have their own specific goal that they want to achieve. So it's very possible that either of us might lose and the merfolk might win because they achieved that goal.
Okay.
And so it is PvP because I'm racing to get more notoriety before you do. So the first to 10 wins. But if one of these guys wins before either of us, we all lose together. So,
there will be one winner, but there could be no winners because the game beats us all.
well, no, the merfolk would win, and I'm sure they very much value their wins.
Fair enough.
And now in your stories, one of the cool things about it being an app is it pulls in characters from the rest of the world. So it will pull in merfolk characters, and if you play your cards right, you might, be rewarded with, they might join your crew, or they might become friends with you, and if they win, you can win. If you get really smoochy with them, you might end up with a merfolk lover. And so And in that case, you would just have 2 levers, and when you roll lever icons, you'd have to attribute what lever is doing what.
Okay.
So, it's good that they work together as a team, as you would expect them to.
I would hope so. If you're going to go through all that trouble to have a merfolk lever, you'd hope that they work together.
And so one of the really cool things about how the NPCs work is you take turns controlling them.
Okay.
And so they have their objectives that they're trying to fulfill. And so when you move them, you can move them towards those objectives. But as I'm sure you've known from playing many games, there's oftentimes interpretations of the rules. Like, oh, this still fits both their criteria. So, they can move to either of these 3 spots. What do I pick? What one, benefits you the most?
Okay.
And so those turns become very interesting because you're both playing towards their goals, but you're really trying to push your goals forwards through them.
Right. But so you kind of have what's going to happen in the spirit of the moment to get towards those goals in the long run. Nice.
And so that's Sea of Legends in 5
Now-
minutes.
Wow, that's a lot to cover in a short amount of time, so I'm impressed. So let me just kind of go back and reiterate on a few points, because you mentioned a few things I found very intriguing. It's kind of, at first blush, a sandbox environment you mentioned, but it seems like when you went here, very first thing, and you had encountered this little story snippet card.
Yeah.
That still triggered this whole kind of mini quest to push this narrative. And then you went, and when the app came in, that had another thing to kind of push the narrative. And then when you have your nemesis and your lover, that also kind of have its own narrative elements. So it seems like there's still, correct me if I'm wrong, but kind of the idea here is there's this overall sandbox environment where you can kind of do what you want, but the game is kind of built to kind of help drive, not really an RPG, but kind of an open-ended storyline that's being built as you play.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things that we really wanted to focus on was making sure that everyone was part of the same story. And so the app knows your lovers and nemesis too. So like my storyline is, Sherry comes up to me and goes, hey, my brother Nasir, which just happens to be your nemesis, is in trouble. Let's go help him out. And when I help out Nasir, your nemesis gets stronger because I'm helping your nemesis out and my lover at the same time. It's wonderful.
It ties it all together.
Yeah.
Which is possible from the app kind of running
exactly.
the engine. Wow. So how many players can play this, and how long does a typical game take?
So it plays from 1 to 4, and it's about 40 minutes per player.
Okay. Makes sense. Okay. Wow. And you mentioned that this, even the cards and everything we see here are still a prototype because it's about to go to Kickstarter?
Yep, April 7th.
April 7th. Okay. And in terms of the Kickstarter campaign, what kind of plans for that do you have in terms of like stretch goals or just overall goals for it?
So, as I said, each time you play, you're going to pick 2 kind of NPC factions because they have different goals, and so they'll interact very differently when you mix them together on the board.
Yeah.
So the base game initially going to have 3 factions that you come with that you can mix and match. There's going to be a 4th that's a stretch goal, and then 4 more that you can get through kind of additional purchases.
Okay.
And so when you have all 8, there's going to be a lot of variety you can mix and match with.
Okay. Now with the minis here and everything, so the Kickstarter is going to be in April. What about in terms of actual like production and fulfillment for it? What's your general timeline for that?
So the hope was 6 months, but with the plague, I'm not entirely sure. So we're going to give ourselves a little bit longer of a window just to be sure that we hit our goals. But
if everything in the world went as it should, you were thinking around a 6 month.
Yeah.
Nice.
So.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. And is there anything, and you've got the board, the cards, the minis, is there anything else that we're not seeing here that might be worth mentioning that might be included?
I think that's pretty much everything.
All right. Well, it's a big spread. I kind of hope that we got everything here.
Yeah.
That's nice. All right. So,
That's cool.
yes, Sea of Legends coming to Kickstarter from Guildhall Studios. Zach, thank you so much. That was a lot of information to go through. You did an excellent job kind of painting the picture of what to expect. And if this looks interesting to you, be sure to check it out. And we'll talk to you again soon.